Welcome back. 2025 Right Angle Sports College Football Show. We are here. You want to know what a professional sports bettor is betting in week one of college football? Good news. He's here. That's Eddie Walls from Right Angle Sports. Eddie, welcome back to the show, my friend. It's great to see your face again. What is your best bet for week one of the 2025 college football season?
I forgot we started it this way.
Right into it, man.
Right, yeah, we go right into it. Okay, it's going to be game 205, 206. It's going to be 207, 208. It's going to be Ole Miss over 60. Now, we released the side. It moved a lot. But I think that people are really discounting a few things here. First of all, Georgia State has zero secondary experience whatsoever. 4 guys will be taking the field that have never played an FBS game, a couple of JUCOs. A couple of FCS players are going to be there. On the flip side, Ole Miss is going to be starting 4 defensive backs who have not played a lot of football either. And I was kind of shocked that Ole Miss defense, it lost 5 NFL players, but it also lost 2 key defensive backs. I think that Georgia State is highly underrated, first of all. I think that last year was a year zero. Their coach quit directly after spring camp. They had to install everything on the fly. And they have some players on their team. This McGee from Georgia State, the head coach, he can transfer portal and recruit like very few others. I don't need a lot of points from them to get here. Also, another key thing is that Simmons, the quarterback, he's good. If you can't score on this Georgia State defense, you're probably not going to be able to score at all this year. So I expect him, and this is still a Lane Kiffin offense, which was fastest in the nation or second fastest in the nation last year. I can tell when this number was being hit that people were still using priors from last year. It's hard not to use priors. We've been using them forever. But there's only 3 people that played on this defense from Ole Miss last year, and there's only 4 people that played on this defense for Georgia State last year. The offensive line is massive compared to Georgia State, but I don't need a lot of points for this to get over. I kind of expect a 49-14 kind of game, something like that. I just thought it was crazy that it got down to 59.5 and 60. If you're making that number, you're probably making it strictly based off of last year's defense for Ole Miss. This is not the same kind of defense whatsoever. And there's something to note here is that Lane Kiffin was always kind of like the guy who was just crushing the portal year after year, just getting incredible transfers. They spent a lot of money on wide receivers. They didn't spend a lot of money on defense. And I think that that's kind of a telltale sign to a lot of the SEC. If you're not a blue blood, you're going to have to pick your battles. It was clear to me that Ole Miss realized they're going to have to score more points than they did last year because they don't have the same defensive stability. So yeah, over 60, it moved pretty significantly there.
Yeah, that's the fun thing. And a real quick shout out to one of our sponsors of the show, Odds Logic, which has, of course, the best odds screen in the game. You see the screen lighting up circa to 61, DraftKings to 60.5, 411, which obviously is Chris to 62. So there you have it, Eddie. Best bet was over 60 on the Ole Miss and Georgia State. So we just talked about Odds Logic. Definitely, if you have not done so yet, make sure you sign up for Odds Logic. Again, it's the best odds screen out there. You get 7 days free, 50% off your first month, and a $250 credit towards Right Angle Sports products when you join Odds Logic. The link is in the description below, so make sure you get on that. And also, we're going to go through, I think, in case you guys are new to this show, we're going to go through the biggest games of the week. We don't always have releases on those at Right Angle Sports, but if you do want to get more of this, make sure you sign up for the Right Angle Sports College Football Service. 56% all-time, 55.6% last season. That's respicks.com/CFB. Again, link in the description. And the extra service as well, which is about 63% since 2020. That's respicks.com/extra. All those links are in the description below. So you want to get more Eddie and his great work, make sure you sign up for that today. And again, each of those services gets prorated down with each release. So the price is going to be much more manageable, the longer that you wait. So again, wanted to get that all out of the way. Welcome back to the college football show here at Right Angle Sports. And Eddie, man, they didn't really waste much time with the college football schedule.
Yeah.
It's Texas at Ohio State. And this number opened at 3. It's down to -1.5. What do you make of this test? It's 1 versus 3 in week 1 at 11 a.m. On Saturday.
I mean, it's befuddling that we have basically a college football final preview by most people's power rankings in week 1. I don't have anything on this game, which was shocking to me. I like Texas's defense. I'm not necessarily sold on their offense, to be quite honest with you, unless Manning plays out of his mind, which is definitely a possibility. But they're starting over on the offensive line. They have wide receiver inquiries that I'm still not sure of. On the flip side, Ohio State is fresh, starting a quarterback nobody's ever really seen. They do have the best wide receiver in all of college football, and their defense is a little inexperienced. That being said, I mean, I just don't have anything. I'd really like to play under, but they got the number right. I mean, I just thought that both defenses are probably pretty far ahead of the offenses. And do you really want redshirt freshman quarterbacks and sophomore quarterbacks throwing it 35 times a game? Probably unlikely. I think it plays pretty slow.
I do have to be honest with you, just in the interest of transparency. I think it's I think it's the squares bet maybe in the history of the world, but I did play some Texas plus 2.5.
Wow.
They tell me that Peyton Manning's nephew is the quarterback.
That's true. That's true. That wasn't accurate.
I said, you know what? I'll take a shot at it. Right.
Right. Yeah, I understand.
I also saw a stat. Again, I haven't back tested this or checked it on my own, but a stat that was something along the lines of the last 18 games, a quarterback playing his first game against the number 1 team in America is 0-18.
I mean,
so
that sounds really relevant, John. I mean, we're probably going back to 1976.
That's right. Doesn't happen much. Much.
Yeah.
But I said it's square. I said it's square. But I said, you know what?
Let me dig up an 18-year-old trend. I love it.
You give me the quote of a red dot on everybody from Arch Manning, and I'm in.
Okay.
All right?
Good enough for me, man. I'll root you along.
So anyway, that's the first game of the slate. Let's move on to Alabama, Florida State. Florida State trying to recover from whatever that was last year with DJ Uiagalelei, and Alabama, continuing to try to get back to the glory days with Kalen DeBoer. Alabama -13.5 against Florida State here, Eddie.
Yeah, I laid it. I mean, I can't make a good argument to not lay it. When's the last time that we had an Alabama team with 16 returning starters? It's basically like an NFL draft prospect list. The only unknown is the quarterback situation with Simpson, but he was a 5-star. There's very few holes, if any, in the running in the Alabama when I was doing the previews for them. And I didn't like the way Florida State quit on him last year. I also don't like the quarterback situation with Castellanos, who got basically kicked off the team in Boston College. He lost a starting job, and he finds a landing place with Malzahn, and they do have a little bit of history, so that's always encouraging. But he doesn't have the arm, and you're not going to beat Alabama running the ball. So I did think about under in this game, to be quite honest with you, because how many points is Florida State going to score on this defense? But I just felt like it was safer to just lay it.
Real quick, maybe you can't say anything or don't want to say anything, but this Ty Simpson, the quarterback, I mean, is this going to be a situation where we look up and Kalen DeBoer's turned him into Michael Penix, and that we didn't really know him and we got to know him and he turns into one of the best throwers in college football?
I don't know, but if you look at the history with Grubb and DeBoer, they can make just about anybody look really good. So, right. I mean, I really felt that last year's Alabama team struggled because Milroe was not what DeBoer was, used to working with. And I think that Grubb makes a hell of a difference. I think he's probably the best offensive coordinator, higher in college football this year. I mean, we've seen what he's capable of. I mean, I was never that high on Penix, especially with 2 ACL injuries, and that cost me some money for sure. I'm sure at some point I pivoted and started betting overs with Washington, but I have a feeling they'll be able to score a lot more efficiently this year than they did last year.
All right, so Eddie says he laid it. You laid 13.5?
I laid 13, but yeah, it's fine. 13, gotcha. Anything under 14 was fine by me.
Let me just want to check and see if you moved anything here. All right, you're dastardly in that way.
I don't have any capability of moving anything when I bet a week ago, so I don't know. I doubt it.
Look what you did. Look what you did. 14 at Circa.
It was. All right. Well, shout out to that guy.
You underestimate yourself. You underestimate yourself here.
All right.
I really think like it's a fun exercise to see just how much stuff moves just by you saying something.
Sure.
You could really use your powers for evil if you wanted to, but you don't. You're a good man.
Yeah.
All right, LSU at Clemson, another great game. Like any week of the college football season, this would be number one by a long shot. It's got to settle for probably the second best game this weekend. LSU at Clemson. Clemson consensus minus 3.5.
Yeah, I don't have anything in this game either, but I really, really thought long and hard about taking the over. We have two Heisman quarterbacks. We have probably 6 NFL wide receivers. We have 2 teams that can't run the ball efficiently. 2 great defensive lines. I mean, there's going to be a lot of passing in this game. I would not be surprised to see it go over, but my numbers just couldn't even come close to getting there. I don't know how you bet under confidently, but there's people that are. So good luck to them. I'll be a spectator on this one for sure. This is a very, very good game.
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious. It's the narrative around the Clemson team this year seems to be that Dabo finally leaned into the portal, and conceded. So we'll see, what it looks like. But what a game! What a game to get the week going. All right, Virginia Tech, South Carolina minus 7.5. I believe this one is Mercedes-Benz, right, in Atlanta. So this is quote unquote a neutral site. So it's not at South Carolina, but South Carolina is minus 7.5 here, Eddie.
Sure. So we released over, I don't know what I think we released that 49.5 or 50. There's a lot of talking points here. So I'll start on Virginia Tech side. You don't hire Philip Montgomery as your offensive coordinator if you don't plan on scoring a lot of points and playing a lot faster tempo, which would make sense because Virginia Tech had a horrible offseason when it came to the portal. They lost all 4 defensive backs, I believe. Lost a key linebacker. They're going to have to score a lot more points. I think that their totals are actually driven down from last year's narrative where Drones was unhealthy. They played 3 different quarterbacks. I think the offense has a little bit of juice. On the flip side, South Carolina lost 5 to the NFL on defense. They still bring back a stud defensive end. That being said, I love Sellers, but if he can't pass the ball efficiently on this defense as much as it lost, you're never going to find a better spot. I really thought that South Carolina was the much more talented team going through the depth chart. I don't like either coach. I just expect that Virginia Tech's Pry is very desperate to score points. If you're going to lose, you got to at least lose exciting. So at the end of the day, I felt pretty good with taking the over there. I was much higher than market. Now I'm pretty close. So I don't know if I would touch it still. 52.5 is definitely a little bit of a stretch. So I was at 53.5, 54. So 49.5, 50 was definitely a good release.
By the way, do you have time? If we get questions, do you have time for a couple?
Sure. Yeah.
So we're on YouTube, we're on X. If you guys have any questions about the week, Eddie is here for a few minutes. Get those in, and as long as they're decent, I'll filter them and
even if they're not decent.
All right, I'll let you decide. Then, yeah,
I'll do my best.
If you have any questions, I'll throw them at Eddie.
Sure.
All right, moving on. Notre Dame at Miami. Notre Dame minus 2.5 chalk here.
Yeah, I don't have anything, but I will tell you this: I really, really wanted to play under in this game. I do not believe that Notre Dame is going to go out and throw the ball and allow a freshman quarterback making his first start on the road in that environment. I imagine it's going to be a very conservative game plan, and Notre Dame's defense is absolutely stacked. And Miami spent a ton of money, probably the most in college football history, between defensive coordinators, 6 defensive backs, shoring up the linebacker position. I mean, they're pretty stacked on defense. We still don't know what Beck's going to look like with the Tommy John injury. We've never seen that in college football before. It's going to be pretty run heavy. Both offensive line and defensive lines kind of even each other out. But unfortunately, I just can't do it. Like the number just got smacked. Like it just continues to get smacked. I guess there's rain in the area now. I'll be a heavy spectator there. I like the Irish for the first time in probably 10 years. They're not going to sneak up on me ever again. I think that this coach is probably the best coach in college football right now when it comes to recruiting. It's absolutely magnificent what he's doing. Does he stay there? I don't know. I mean, I feel like he goes to the NFL soon, but I would love to play Notre Dame as well. But like I said, the environment, first start ever, probably, there's going to be some panic in the first half. I don't know. I just felt better about not keeping it off my slate.
A couple of questions here. This is from X. Turner says, talk Nebraska, Cincinnati, please.
Sure. I'm actually on Nebraska. And the reason why is pretty simple. I think that people are making way too big of a deal about White leaving for Florida State, the defensive coordinator. Rule oversees the entire defense always. I also think that we have Matt Rule in his third year. That's a special thing. If you guys don't know, he wins about 65% of his games in his third year. His first 2 years are always kind of coming up short of expectations of the program, but he really turns it on then. And I like Cincinnati. I like Sorbsby. I do not like their secondary whatsoever. And if Raiola is going to have success, this is definitely the game to do so. Nebraska went out and spent a lot of money on wide receivers, getting Dane Key from Kentucky. Raiola coming into a second year should be much more comfortable. We flirted with the idea of the over, but I was pretty close to the number. I just think Nebraska's kind of a blue blood in getting back to that. They're recruiting well. The transfer portals all added up for me. Cincinnati's going to be very, very run based. Doesn't have any plus wide receivers to really take advantage of a weak secondary, if that's the one true concern for Nebraska. So yeah, I laid it.
All right. Let's see. Gator Matt says, what SEC team who's a favorite could you see being upset this week?
Kentucky.
Yeah,
I mean, Toledo has a lot of history in this spot of upsetting somebody in week one. They did it to Mississippi State. They did it the year before. I can't remember who they played. I think that Toledo is pretty damn good. They bring back a lot of returning production. I didn't get involved in the game, but if there was one that was, definitely on my list of looking further into, it was going to be Toledo. I just think that we're talking about Zach Calzada as being a really, really good quarterback. I've seen no evidence of that other than at the FCS level. Can he save that offense, even though it brings back 5 returning starters on the offensive line? It's still going to be super run heavy, and Toledo's pretty good against the run. I see that being a close battle.
All right, we got one more game to touch on, and then I'm going to give out a bet that I had as a best bet, but I think my phone might be tapped. I think our Slack direct messages might be compromised, Eddie.
Watch out now.
But before I give that out, and again, if you have any more questions, make sure to filter those in. I will get to everybody so long as Eddie has time for it. Man, I tell you what, this is about as intriguing as it gets. TCU at North Carolina, Bill Belichick's debut as a college coach here at North Carolina, and TCU laying 3.5.
Yeah, we released the under, and for good reason, in my opinion. TCU's defense is their pass defense is probably a top 30 pass defense in college football. And I'm not going to lie, I'm not going to act like I know the NFL. I don't, but I've read nothing but Belichick for the last 4 months about how he is just a quarterback reader. And Hoover lost his top 2 wide receivers from last year. He still has a stud in McAllister, but he's really the only one of note. I think that North Carolina, if they're going to win this game, they have to be super ball control. They have 3 good running backs. Their offensive line is super banged up, so you can't allow the quarterback to get hit too much. They're going to have to play ball control, and TCU is talking about running the ball more this year. Everybody thinks that Dykes is just this air raid guy. When he has the most success is when he can mix and match. So yeah, I like the under. I don't know what it's at right now. Let me look, but I was at 55 or 54.5 on the game. It's a little bit thin right now, but it was one of my favorite plays on the card, to be quite honest with you. I think that if North Carolina is going to have success this year, they're going to have to do it with defense. And you didn't have that with Mac Brown. So now you have kind of a defensive guru as your head coach. It's not only that, all the quotes this year was he started overseeing the defensive line first day on the camp. So it seemed very clear to me that his focus was on defense 100%.
Quite fascinating. It really is. So, and it's that standalone game on Monday. So I'm sure we'll all be locked in. All right. A couple more here, Eddie, before I wrap it up with my best bet.
That's good.
Austin asked, would you play North Dakota plus 25.5 with Kansas State coming back from Ireland?
I don't know. I couldn't name a single player on North Dakota. I have no idea what their situation is. I don't really do FCS. I lean on Travis Raz for that kind of thing, but you can't really find a better spot probably than fading Iowa State and North Dakota State. I just imagine that there's just tons of wear and tear on. I mean, anybody that's ever traveled overseas, it takes a couple of days for your body to get back.
It does.
And I mean, I can't argue with the logic, I am seeing better. I will say that I think that you'll probably get better number if you wait. Just on the extra games, it just seems like favorites get hit pretty hard pretty quickly, closer to game time when the limits go up. I could be completely mistaken. It's not really my market, so I shouldn't guess on that. But yeah, there's worse bets to make than, I mean, you can't get worse travel spot than coming home from Ireland and having to play a game, probably 4 days after you got home. And also you have all the Avery Johnson stuff. And yeah, I can see how it'd work out.
And then I really do want to make sure we hit this because it's about to kick off and the line movement has been very odd. Michael asked, any thoughts on the USF Boise game? Of course, it's open 9.5, and the consensus now, Eddie, with about 10 minutes to kick, is Boise -5.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things here. I mean, South Florida, they did really, really well getting defense from the portal this year. They spent a lot of money, which was unexplainable. I didn't think they had that much money. So it's very clear that they want to be a little bit better on defense. They also get Brown back from injury. They played tug of war with NIL and won that battle. So I imagine he's healthy. So I guess I can see why the money is going on South Florida. But at the same time, the talent level and the size of Boise is pretty remarkable. Their offensive line is no joke. That's like an SEC's offensive line size-wise. Everybody's also discounting Boise for Genty. Madsen hasn't always been like the best quarterback, but I mean, he is in his third year as a starter. I don't know. I kind of avoided this game. I kind of hope Boise loses, to be quite honest with you, because when you map a season, you kind of hope for things to happen. And but to be clear, South Florida has actually never beat a team in the regular season with a winning record since Golish has been there. So that's actually true. But this is his best chance, and this is his best team he's ever going to have. So right now or ever, and it's the biggest stage they're going to play. Until they play next week, actually. They play Florida next week and Miami the week after.
Yeah, there you go.
Win this game. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, it's you're right. It's the best chance. It only gets tough from here. All right, my best bet of the week one is going to be Northwestern +5.5 at Tulane. This was 6 when I initially told Eddie I was going to give it out, and I guess what's sort of happening here is that there are rumblings about who Tulane is going to play at quarterback. They brought in Retzlaff, but there's, rumblings that it might be Brendan Sullivan. I think regardless of who it is, even if it is Retzlaff, you're replacing Mensa, who's a $2 million to $4 million a year quarterback, with a guy who definitely can, has an interception problem. You're losing your starting running back. Northwestern, on the other hand, I know they were like last in the Big Ten in pass efficiency last season, Eddie, but you upgrade in a major way, in my opinion, with Preston Stone, who before the ACL injury was pretty elite at the position. They're top 30-ish in new starts added via the portal. I just think Tulane is getting a little bit too much credit here. I think they're, replacing quite a bit of production, and I'm not necessarily sure that everybody that they brought in is going to be able to do that as well. So I will take the 5.5 with a Power 4 team against I think it's just an overvalued Tulane team right now. I mean, I'm going to have to see it. So I will take the 5.5 with Northwestern at a quarterback upgrade with some uncertainty at quarterback for Tulane. So that is going to be my best bet of the week. It's still out there, consensus +5.5. So that'll be my last number, though. I would only take 5.5. So anyway, my friend, it was amazing to be back with you. We're doing this for another season.
Again, yeah. Indeed.
We'll do it every Thursday at 4 o'clock
it.
Central, 5 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Mountain. That's the way it works. Thanks for being with us here on the RAS College Football Show. Have a great week, and we'll see you next Thursday.
All right. Thanks so much, John, and good luck to everybody this weekend.